What's up, everybody? Tony Jigsaw Cotillo here for another edition of the Alternative Edge. Now, last week was the first premiere edition, and it was off the charts. Already going on 500 plus views, and everybody within the Sharp app wanted to know, why were so many views? What's going on in this show? How did Jigsaw get it? Nobody else. I'll tell you how, because we have such a unique concept, okay, that nobody else is doing. How we're going to take the prop market and the DFS market and put them together. Okay, we're going to correlate the two and show you why they go up and down and they kind of work within one. Now, there's some instances where they work against each other, but for the most part, we're going to talk about how they work within unison. So we're getting ready for NFL Week 1. But the first thing you need to do, as always, I made it easy for you this week. It's going right down on the bottom of the screen. Okay, there's the sharpbets.app, reference 395 or use coupon code HEAT. Okay, that's for me. So everybody knows that I'm bringing people into the fold here, right? You get the first free month, you join the free Discord. Everybody is there. It's a great community. I wouldn't join it if it wasn't. You understand that, you know that, right? Follow the Sharp app on all social formats and get within all the lines right there. Free bets of the day, free content all day. I mean, just tons of interesting stuff for you to feast on for this NFL season. But it's NFL Week 1, and we have a lot of props and values to talk about. Now, Week 1, what I can say is you start your studs, right? I know we're not talking season long here. I'll just give you a quick tip. For me, for season-long people, just start your studs. If you're a season-long person, start your studs. Don't overthink it. For DraftKings people, for DFS people, look within the system. Look within the numbers. And we're going to go about that several different ways. For the prop market, look at some of the DFS values and kind of get a gauge on, are they high, they low, and then take them into the prop market and see what that number is dictating and say to yourself, is there a reason why this guy's value is lower than it should be or higher than it should be, right? You basically can it basically can be predicated off that other number. And we're going to show you that in a couple instances as well. So I'm going to try to keep this show within a half hour because nobody wants to sit online for an hour watching the show, right? I'm going to give you as much information as I can within 30 minutes or less. I'm going to stick to that. I'm telling you. Again, make sure you subscribe to the Sharp app, all social formats, YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You know the deal, right? I don't have to say it. It's right there on the banner. So let's get started. And we're also going to start a lock of the week as well. A prop lock of the week that we're going to starting this week. We're going to end that. And as well as some stacks, sneaky stacks, value plays, and some over and unders as well. So let's start right off the bat. Now, I've talked about the Houston-Jacksonville game so much. And again, because it's a garbage game. It's two garbage teams, right? And there's a lot of storylines to follow within this game. Obviously, on the Jacksonville side, you have the Dabo, right? You have the Trevor Lawrence effect, right? You know, what is Trevor Lawrence going to be, right? What is basically, is he going to play as a rookie or is he going to play as a vet, right? So I think that's one of the biggest things that we have to look at. And then we have to look at that receiving core out there, okay? And we have to look at who's going to step up because, listen, technically, even though DJ Chark is the most notable guy, I think that there's other guys that you need to look at, right? I do. I'm a big Laviska Shenault guy. I'm a big Marvin Jones guy, right? So this is what you have to look at. You have to look at, and forgive me as always. So sometimes I get so excited, I overtake one of the most important parts, and that's James Robinson, and that's who we're going to get to right now. But also, I kind of screwed up in the beginning. I don't know why I'm talking about Clemson and Dabo, but this is Urban Meyer's team, right? And a lot of people are throwing shade on Urban Meyer. Can he be the next college coach to be successful in the NFL, or will he be a flop like a Steve Spurrier or a la Chip Kelly? Even though Chip Kelly was successful in the first couple of years, his theories did not translate to the NFL game. And that's why it never happened the way we thought was going to be after in Philadelphia, that first quarter against the Washington Redskins, when everybody was on their heels, right? When everybody was on their heels. So let's get right into this market, okay, and into this game, because this game gives me a lot of intrigue and a lot of different storylines to follow. The number one for me is James Robinson. Now, everybody was all over the ETN factor. Everybody thought that all of a sudden the DFS and the season-long darling of James Robinson last year was going to be no other, because they go out draft ETN. Well, ETN goes down for the year, and James Robinson jumps right back up into that spot. So I'm looking at two things right here, and this is one of our first examples of what the prop market is giving you and how it dictates the DFS market. So the James Robinson number is 6,400. You look at that number and you say, is it high? Is it low? Is it average, right? You have to break down the running back position. Now, obviously, number one is Christian McCaffrey at 9,500. Big number. Dalvin Cook followed 9,100. But when you get down to James Robinson territory, you have to look at who else is available in that range. Now, Miles Sanders goes right above James Robinson at 6,500. Najee Harris below at 6,300. So he's still in a good class of productive running backs. Now you go to the prop market and you look at his over and under number, okay? And these are rush yard numbers, 67.5. Anytime you get a prop from a running back that's over 55 or more, that means they're expecting them to be successful, right? It does. So 67.5 yards tells me that James Robinson's baseline is easily 65. So against a Houston team that was the worst against fantasy running backs last year, giving up a crazy, ridiculous number, 32 points per game. 32 points per game. That has James Robinson all over it. And at 6,400 and over 67.5 yards, two great numbers, a great play, in my opinion, something that you seriously need to consider, especially in the DFS market, because 6,400 minus 9,500, that's $3,000 extra money from the top running back to James Robinson that you can have the ability to play with. Now, I'm not saying that James Robinson needs to be RB1, but he could have that kind of week. And at 6,400, that's going to be a big deal. And that's going to translate right over to that prop market at 67.5, which, listen, there's no way, in my opinion, that James Robinson gets under 75 to 80 yards rushing. This is 100% a triple-digit game for him, at least a touchdown. This game's going to be a lot of points scored against two really bad teams, two defenses that are pretty non-existent. So this is where you want to jump on, and that's where I'm going to get into right off the bat, because we're going to stick to that game, and we're going to go on the same side of the football, on the same side, which means offensively, and we're going to look at Marvin Jones. Now, another one where we look at the actual value as opposed to the prop market. The prop market, again, 56.5. There's above that 55 number, a little more than 50%. It's showing you that they expect Marvin Jones to have a decent game. That's what the line tells me at 56.5, which means a $3,600 receiver is a maximum value. A maximum value, right? Absolutely, 100%. So that prop market, okay, what's dictating to me is that Marvin Jones is a gem at 3,600 for your DFS play. Okay, so that's two Jacksonville Jaguars right there against a Houston Texans team that really has nobody. Congratulations to J.J. Watt for getting out of Dodge and getting to a team that should win ball games in Arizona. So I really like the Marvin Jones and the James Robinson effect. Maybe you get really nuts and you go for a silent stack that nobody's thinking about, and you throw Trevor Lawrence in there and you give you your triple threat. Now, speaking of stacks, let's go to the other team. And we're going to go with this. This is my sneaky stack of the week. I love this. I love this play. I'm telling you, the best thing about NFL DFS is if you're only playing one lineup, you're doing yourself a disservice. You want to have fun with this. And I'm not saying you need to spend hundreds of dollars every week. What I'm saying is, obviously manage your bankroll correctly and use your thoughts wisely, but have some fun. Throw a little fireball in there every now and then. Throw a little as a la Firebox, and we know why we say that, Fantasy Firebox every weekend, shameless plug. But you have to look at this and say, how can I get a sneaky stack and have some fun? And I'm telling you right now, I love this stack. Now, this could be really bad or it could be really good, but here's the thing that I look at. Look at the stack potential as far as value. You're talking about $13,600 for three guys, including your quarterback. Christian McCaffrey's $9,500 alone. $9,500 alone. Okay, so think about it. Again, this is a game that's going to have a lot of points scored, in my opinion. And, not necessarily may not be a lot of points scored, but a lot of offensive stats, right? This could be field goals all over the place. But again, we're talking PPR. We're talking about point per reception. Okay, when you're talking about that kind of scoring system, this is what you need to look at. And when you're playing DFS, and you can get a quarterback at 5,300 that quite possibly could produce in the 20s, you have to grab onto that. And then Philip Lindsay, nobody's talking about. I've told you this before. I am not sold on David Johnson. The guy's an injury waiting to happen. I am not sold on Mark Ingram. To me, he is absolutely done. Philip Lindsay is a young guy, 26 years old, that can go out there and he can produce. And nobody's talking about him. The years he had in Denver when he was productive showed that he was willing and able to run the rock with consistency. Okay? If you look at what he did before 2020 and 2019, 2018, again, basically averaged about 1,025 yards and about 5.1 yards per carry. 7 and 9 touchdowns respectively, and still came out of the backfield for 50 targets or more and averaged about 35 receptions per year. So he's somebody that nobody's talking about. The running back 2 is David Johnson, not Philip Lindsay. Philip Lindsay is going to be that RB1. And again, he's going to throw up some stats in this game. So Nico Collins is another guy that he is a very silent sleeper. Okay, very silent. If you looked at some of the preseason and you've seen the passes, a lot of them went to Nico Collins. He's a bigger type receiver. Reminds me of Gabrielle Davis, who we will get to later, from the Buffalo Bills. And you're talking about an offense where he's going to play second fiddle to Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is going to be the only guy that's going to be coverable. Okay, which means it's going to command coverage from the opposing team, which is going to leave the rookie out there, Nico Collins, out for value. So you have to look at that, man. Have to look at that. So that's how I have some fun with this, right? There's your sneaky stack. We got Tyrod Taylor, who thankfully has a good lung this year, Philip Lindsay, and Nico Collins. That's my sneaky stick. Again, stack, not stick. That's my sneaky stack for the week. Now, again, we could sit here and we could talk stacks all day long and start with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not here to do that because I think any of us at any given time can hit on that. What we need to do is dissect this into a valuable play on both ends, whether we're talking about the prop market or we're talking about the DFS teams. And we have to do that in a way that nobody else is doing it. And that's why this show is called The Alternative Edge. Now, let's stay on the same format. Okay, and let's go to a guy who I just mentioned in Gabrielle Davis. Now, this is not a prop bet. This is specifically for DFS at 3,400 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. What did the Pittsburgh Steelers do to fix their defensive woes last year? Nothing. Nothing. Now, they did just sign the best, or I should say, they signed, in their opinion, the best defensive player in the National Football League. But what did they do for the secondary? That's what I want to know. What did they do for the secondary? Because last year, guess what? The secondary couldn't stop anybody. So what the Steelers did was they went out and they signed TJ Watt to a massive contract extension. I mean, listen, we already know the Pittsburgh Steelers breathe linebackers, right? But that still doesn't help their secondary woes. And that's why I like Gabrielle Davis, who was every bit of the wide receiver, too, on an explosive offense in Buffalo. This isn't in Heinz Field. This is in Bills Mafia territory. Josh Allen, to me, the over and under for Josh Allen props for touchdowns thrown is 2.5. There's no way he doesn't throw 3 touchdowns in this game. And one of them is going to go to Gabrielle Davis. Okay? If you watch the preseason and you've seen the way he gets off of bump and run coverage, he gets off of press coverage, he finds the areas of the field, the spacing, and he learned last year the right angles to go up against the corners to shield their arms away to give Josh Allen that alleyway to throw the ball right into the basket. And again, these are the kind of picks that we bring you right here on the Alternative Edge at 3,400. I think, again, for a team that's going to score a lot of points against a defense that's been non-existent, I think you go all in. Now, here's an interesting play right here that kind of goes, I wouldn't necessarily say against what we were talking about, but again, it's not a specific theory that works the same way each time. It just shows you how these numbers kind of correlate. Now, Javonte Williams for the Denver Broncos. You already heard Vic Fangio come out and say they have all the trust in the world in Javonte Williams. And this week he's starting up against a New York Giants defense who, listen, let's be honest, they're still trying to find their way. And there's a lot of issues out there in the New York Giants. We don't know how they're going to respond to the Joe Judge culture, so to speak. But Javonte Williams is a $4,000 running back, okay? So when you're looking for a DFS standpoint, you're always looking about who's ahead and who's beyond. I mean, he's being labeled in the same territory of guys like, listen, Kenneth Gainwell, Jerick McKinnon, who, listen, I like Jerick McKinnon. I do. But Javonte Williams is $4,000. $4,000 against the 25th ranked defense against running backs in fantasy football. So again, how does that number help you in the prop market? Look at that low number. Now, what if you go by the theory that we originally brought up, you would say that number's really low, so they're not expecting him to do much. I'll tell you what, I think they're mistaken. I think because they're not following the coach speak. They're looking at the Melvin Gordon effect. And I'm telling you right now, you've seen it last year. Melvin Gordon is not the bell cow back anymore. He's just not. And Javonte Williams is going to get a couple carries. And if he breaks 1 or 2 runs for more than 7 or 8 yards, longer than what you can get out of Melvin Gordon nowadays, he's going to stick in the game, get more carries, and he's going to blow away that 35.5 number. So I'm definitely over on the rush yards when it comes to Javonte Williams. I think it's another really good play. But more importantly, on the DFS side, you could quite possibly get a running back 2 on your DFS roster in Javonte Williams for $4,000 to give you probably at least about $3,000 in wiggle room for one of those top upper echelon running backs or receivers. I mean, think about it. If you're going to spend $9,500 to $9,100 on running backs like Dalvin Cook and Christian McCaffrey, you're going to have to lower your expectations from a value standpoint for your running back 2. Not even talking about your flex spot, right? For your running back 2. So you can still get that stud wide receiver. You want to get that nice core of that running back, wide receiver, and quarterback. Well, this helps you in that facet. So again, this is a little different than we talked about in the beginning because the number is low. So technically, if we go by the original theory of a low number would mean they're not expecting much from that player, which in turn would bring that number, a lower value for DFS, which it is. So if Javonte Williams, if you go back to the James Robinson, here's how this works. James Robinson is 6,400, and the prop over and under is 67.5. Now that prop at 67.5 was here, and Javonte Williams was 4,000. I would say, okay, I need to reconsider this. I need to look at it, right? I need to look at it because again, it would play right in that theory because they're saying that they expect it to be successful. So it would be a no-brainer to say Javonte Williams at $4,000 has to start. I'm going on a limb here with my own theories that Melvin Gordon is not the guy. Okay, I don't think Vic Fangio comes out and gives confidence to Javonte Williams not to use him by bringing up his name. I think he's going to use him, and he's going to use him a lot. This is an old-school coach who likes to run the ball. I'm telling you that right now. Likes to run the ball. So Javonte Williams gets 12 carries in that game. All he needs to average is 4 or 5 yards, and he's going to bury that 35.5. So for me, I can see Javonte Williams getting 46 to 48 yards, quite possibly scoring a touchdown, depending on how they can play on the road against the Giants. That, because I just think the Giants are a mentally lost team right now because of everything that happened in the offseason. So, again, another good play, over 35.5, Javonte Williams for 4,000. Now, let's get into fade and starts. So here's what I like about this. And we got about 9 minutes left. Again, follow the Sharp app on the bottom. Go get your first free month, okay? And go to the website right there. The website, okay, it's scrolling down the bottom. Number one, you follow at the Sharp app on all social formats. You subscribe to the YouTube page. You go and download the app, but you also go to www.sharpbets.app, reference 395, or use the coupon code HEAT, and then I will get credit for helping you out, and you still get your first month free. So join a free Discord chat as well. Get in there. Get with all these. I say all these people, but it's this huge community. Have a lot of fun. We throw some picks out there, and we all win some money. Listen, you don't win all the time, but I'll tell you what, the percentages are definitely in your favor if you join the Discord chat. Now, let's go fade to start, and I really love this. So fade DeAndre Swift, start Aaron Jones. Why do I say that? Right? Why do I say that? And again, in the DFS market, you have to look at these numbers. DeAndre Swift is $6,900 on a very bad team going up against quite possibly a top 5 defense in the NFL. They get Bosa back. The San Francisco 49ers are for real. And DeAndre Swift is favoring a groin injury. We don't even know if he's 100%, if he's going to play the entire game, especially with Jamal Williams behind him. Well, you have to look at that number at 6,900 and say, again, who's above, who's behind. Right behind him is Aaron Jones, an already established running back on a team that's going to score points. Now, I get it. Going up against the New Orleans Saints, who have a very righteous defense in their own. But Aaron Jones last year, 11 total touchdowns. The year before, 16 touchdowns, but he's averaging 1,100 yards. Listen, this guy, 70 targets, 50 catches. He's already established. We know what we're going to get with Aaron Jones. So for $100, not more, but less, I would definitely pay $100 more, but less, $100 less, you get the established DFS value of Aaron Jones at 6,800. That is a no-brainer, people. So yes, you are going to fade DeAndre Swift and start Aaron Jones. That will 100% work in your favor. Now, here's another very good one that people aren't looking at enough. And I'll tell you what, this one blows my mind. Okay. This one absolutely blows my mind. We're going to fade DJ Moore at 6,100. I don't know what that Carolina team is going to be. They have 2 passing options beside Christian McCaffrey. That's DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and they have a reclamation project with Sam Darnold. I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but all I know is if I can get a Robert Woods that's going, again, last 3 years, very consistent, 130 plus targets, average, one of the best average amongst fantasy wide receivers when it comes to targets over the last 3 years. People don't even know that. And he's only 5,700 compared to 6,100, $400 less than DJ Moore. And he's on a team that's going to score at least 30% more points with Matthew Stafford and all the other weaponry that they have under a Sean McVay offense. And so in week 1, you're going to fade DJ Moore at 6,100, and you're going to listen to Jigsaw, and you're going to start Robert Woods at 5,700, and you're going to thank me later. Now, we got 2 more to go through. We got 1 prop, and then we got the lock of the week, and then we're going to get out of here. Like I said, keep this under 30 minutes, and we're going to get you in and out with as much information as possible. Jalen Hurts, pass plus rush yards over 285.5. Now, here's the most important fact. We all know with Jalen Hurts what we're looking at. People, it's 3 games. That's all we got. That's the sample size we're looking at when we talk to Jalen Hurts. Because we can't worry about what he did before that. We can't worry about what he did after that. Because those are the 3 games that we have to judge him on for week 1. And what I can tell you is he's averaged 76 yards rushing per game in those 3 games. He also averaged 272 pass yards within those 3 games. So look at that number. If he averaged 272, they're giving you 285.5 as a total number of rush and passing yards against a Atlanta defense that isn't very good. It's about midway through. Okay, they will get some pressure, but he is elusive. He is mobile, so he will be able to get. It's all about what he does with the ball after that fact. But again, if you take the 285 and you take that number and you minus what his normal rushing attempt is, listen, I'm telling you what, this is a no-brainer to me, okay? So they're essentially saying he's only going to throw. His number for the prop market for passing yards is 233.5. So that means they're only telling you that he's going to rush for 50 more yards based on their passing prop. And if he's already averaged 72 in 3 games, I think it's a no-brainer, especially when we look at a 272 average for passing yards. It's a no-brainer. He's plus 50 in each prop. So you're going to combine the 285.5. For me, it's easy money, a no-brainer. It is a lock. Okay, it is a lock, but not our lock of the week, but it is a lock, and it's not a homer pick. It's just understanding exactly what the numbers were dictated in 3 games last year, how this offense is going to be run from the Philadelphia Eagles, and the opponent that they are facing. Now let's get to the lock of the week. And this, to me, everybody, was simple. This was simple. Henry Ruggs over 2.5 receptions. Let me just say, okay, this is one of the most easiest prop bets that I have seen. Now, I don't know what they're basing this on, but what I do know is that we have a Henry Ruggs receiver who is the number 1 guy in the Las Vegas offense run by Mr. John Gruden. And if you look at what he did last year, okay, this is probably what they're trying to do. You look at week 12, 13, 14, 16, and 17. 4 out of 5 games, he was at 3 receptions. He never had more than 3 receptions per game last year at any game. And he actually had 2 where he had 0. But what I will tell you is he went through a lot of growing pains last year. Missed a few games due to concussion. I understand he's seasoned. Comes from one of the best teams in college football. But the West Coast offense is very difficult to learn. John Gruden is a mastermind. But he's not a mastermind for any reason. He's a mastermind because he knows how to dissect some brilliant game planning. And that scheme is tough to learn as a rookie. So from a COVID year to where there was basically no offseason, he just came in, hit the ground running. It wasn't enough. This year, he gets an entire offseason to break it all down, get comfortable with it, and I think he will break out. And again, for week one, to sit there and tell me, again, 2.5 over. I mean, 3 catches. Listen, to me, this is a no-brainer. This is my lock of the week. Okay, honestly, 100%. My lock of the week for prop bets is Henry Ruggs over 2.5 receptions. No doubt about it. You can't beat it. It's right there. So there we go. Listen, we kept this under a half hour. Let's rewind real quick and review. James Robinson, we got 6,400. over 67.5 yards. We're going to fade DeAndre Swift and start Aaron Jones. Marvin Jones, we're going to grab at a $3,600 DFS value and the over at 56.5 yards receiving. Gabrielle Davis, a great value at 3,400 in DFS against the Steelers. Javonte Williams, 4,000 versus the Giants and over 35.5 rushing yards. I think that is a given. And then we have our sneaky stack of the week. Tyrod Taylor, Philip Lindsay, and Nico Collins for the Houston Texans. Jalen Hurts, the pass plus rush yards prop at over 2.5 or over 285.5. And then we're going to fade DJ Moore and start Robert Woods. And last but not least, our lock of the week, Henry Ruggs, over 2.5 receptions. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us here on the Sharp app. NFL Week 1 props and DFS values on the Alternative Edge. I am Tony Jigsaw Cotillo. You already heard. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you download the app. Make sure you go to the reference site or use the reference code HE and join that free Discord chat to get everybody's insight and also sign up so you can get that free month. Get that free month membership to see what we're all about, and you will not be disappointed. So again, it's another Friday. We're getting ready for football this week, NFL Week 1. This is the second episode of the Alternative Edge. Make sure you get in the comments. Make sure whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on social, you can follow me at TCotillo23 and at the Sharp app for Sharp to see all of our shows. Everybody, have a fantastic weekend. Any questions, hit me up. If not, have fun swimming in the money with these picks, and we will see you next Friday.